कर सकते हैं, फिर उसके जब आप अपना डिलीवर कर लेते हैं तब हम रखते हैं मोस्टली, लेकिन इफ यू फील कन्वीनियंट तो बीच में हम अलाउ करते हैं. तो इट ऑल डिपेंड्स ऑन द पर्सन हु इज प्रेजेंटिंग दिस.
Okay.
So you tell me what way you want to go.
आई थिंक एक 45 मिनट के ब्रेक के बाद एक सेशन रख लेंगे 5 मिनट्स का, सो दैट एक वो 45 मिनट्स के लिए वो कैचअप कर सकें कि क्या क्या है.
और सब यूट्यूब पे हो गया, स्टार्ट हो गया सेशन.
So we welcome all of the participants and especially Vishal ji. And today we are going to discuss private equity. You know, अभी हम बात कर रहे थे कि what is our knowledge. So to be very frank, I have very little knowledge. I know something, some subject I have read somewhere. Some due diligence has also been done, but I am not conversant about the subject. But as far as we have today, Vishalji, he's a versatile and knowledgeable person about this subject. So all of us are curious to know from Vishalji that how the private equity is going to play a role in developing new projects like startups, and any other things where the projects have the viability is there, and but the promoters do not have adequate financing. So there are two aspects. One is how to get it from the requirement point of view, but at the same time, which is equally important, what perspectives which are important from the lender side, equity provider side, what they want to look into their project and how they want to structure. So the transaction structuring part, if you can take a bit of it also, you may please take up. And as you rightly said, after 45 minutes, we will have a break for 5 minutes for this question, any question answer. And then finally, all the question answers will be settled once you finish your project. Okay. So I request Vishalji to please proceed with this topic and enlighten us and our participants on this subject. Please.
So first of all, very good afternoon to all of you, and I would like to thank to Gaur sir and Nitin Kanwasa for giving me an opportunity to brief at this platform, and thanks a lot for starting this webinar. So sir, without wasting any time of our participants, I would like to firstly be asking some questions with all the participants which everyone having in their mind. So the questions could be, I'm just deliberating in aggregate terms, not exactly all the questions, but what could be the private equity? What is all this about the alternative investment funds? Or how one can enter into this domain? What's the scope of this AIF industry into this India? And many more questions each and everyone is having in their mind. So I've prepared one of the presentations having all this data. I've gathered all this information from various sources of SEBI and other database management companies. So I'm just going to start with this. If anyone is having the question related to this, we can. I will answer all those questions after 45 minutes. I will try to answer them. Okay. So this is my first slide into this, then insight into the alternative investment funds. Hello, am I audible to all of you, sir?
Yeah, you are audible.
All right. This isn't moving. Just a second. Just a second. So sir, the very first question is, what are the alternative investment funds and what's the basic difference between the alternative investment funds and the traditional investment strategies which we have usually seen from many years in our country? So the very basic difference is the traditional investment segment can go only for the long position. That too into the restricted segments. The segments could be the equities. The segment could be the fixed income, debts, debentures, bonds, fixed income portfolio. We usually see that many of the mutual funds are having into the core debt mutual funds. And the third could be the cash, the liquid cash. And these are the traditional investment strategies which we have seen in last many decades in India. But alternative investments are something which whose ultimate motive is to make the money. It's not important whether they invest into the equities or fixed income or cash. They just their ultimate aim is to make the money, and they can go the short position as well. So this is the main and the prime difference between this alternative investments as against to this mutual funds or the traditional investment segments. So there are six type of funds, or I would say the six type of the weapons. I would say we include or we use in terms of alternative investments. So those six segments are the hedge funds, firstly. The second could be the private equity. The third will be the real estate, the real estate investment trust REITs and InvITs, that is infrastructure investment trusts. Fourth could be the commodities. Fifth will be the structured products. Structured products will be like the CTA funds or the credit derivatives or CDOs. CDOs means collateralized debt obligations. And last but not the least, the others. Others could be the any intangibles in which the hedge funds or many other funds can invest as well. So I repeat myself, the main and the prime most difference between the traditional investment segment and the alternative investments is the position they can take. The traditional investments can take only the long position, while the alternatives can go into the short position as well. So the next slide would be the AIF types. I'm going to detail about each and every type. So the very first one is the hedge funds. So what are the hedge funds and how they are different from the mutual funds? Likewise, I have just said that the prime most difference is the position they can take. The second difference against the mutual fund as well as the hedge funds are that hedge funds can invest into the goodwill, they can invest into the intangibles, they can invest into the patents, they can invest into the physical gold, they can invest in any segment, but the ultimate motive is to gain the profit for their investors. But mutual funds can't do that. They can go only for the long position, and that too into the restricted manner. There are many other restrictions as well from the SEBI and from the SEC, that Security Exchange Commission in the US, that the mutual funds can go only for some restricted pathways and have some restricted exposure. But the hedge funds can be the ultimate risk takers. They can't be the risk averse. So they involve a huge trading strategies. They get into the derivatives. They invest into various unlisted securities as well. It's not being mandatory for the hedge funds to invest only in the listed corporates. So they can go anywhere where they find that this investment has the potential to make the money in the coming future. So this is the all about the hedge funds at a very brief manner. So second could be the private equity funds. Private equity funds are something which invest into only the unlisted corporates with the stated objective. The hedge funds and the private equity difference is the hedge funds may make the short position today, and they exit from that position tomorrow or maybe day after tomorrow. But in private equity funds, they don't make such investments for such short period. They make the investments only for the very long period of time. Okay. And the private equity funds have a tenure of roughly 10 to 15 years. In majority cases, the tenure is 10 years. But in some cases, we have also seen that the private equity funds have a tenure of 15 years as well. So the third fund we have in our portfolio is the venture capitalist funds. So what is venture capitalist? Firstly, venture capitalism is something a fund which invest into the startups at brief level or at the majority level. They invest only into the startups. So the major startups which we have seen in the so far, the latest funding was in the Byju's, made by the SoftBank. And these Ola, we heard about the Zomato. Recently, Zomato acquired the Uber Eats. These all are the fintech startups in which the various venture capitalists invested amount and made some very good amount from exiting or while exiting their position. Or in some investments, they are even holding their positions as of now. So venture capitalists are someone who believe, who are highly risk takers, and they also again go for the very long period. They don't invest for a short period. It will require somewhere 5 years or 10 years down the line to make the money from such investments. And just for the knowledge, it's not very sure that uh, the fund will definitely going to make the money. So that's why the fund, the AIF category funds, all have a very high risk exposure. And just for the knowledge, the investors into the private equity and the hedge funds, the limited partners, we usually, so I will brief about that, what are the GP and the LP. So each and every investor should be having a corpus of minimum 1 crore. So a person who is having a 1 CR investment, that investor can only be the participant into the private equity funds or the hedge funds, because these alternative investments are meant for those who really have the high risk appetite and uh, have that belonging of the HNI client, that is high net worth individuals who have got this license from the RBI, that are the high net worth individual investors. Now the fourth fund is the SME funds. SME funds are the one, firstly SME is MSME companies which are operating into the MSME sector. So they also invest into the unlisted securities, but that too specifically which the companies operating into the SME sector. We have also heard, I hope we all have heard about the SME IPO thing. SME IPO is something which recently has been launched by the SEBI, and these funds invest in such kind of the MSME companies, and these companies come up with an IPO, and these funds then dilute their investments and make some money. So the next slide. So again, the rest of the three funds, the infrastructure funds. So infrastructure funds are mainly invested into the through the InvITs, the special purpose vehicles formed for operating or developing or holding the infrastructure products. So we have also studied into the direct taxation, that there are two concepts for the by forming the special purpose vehicle we invest, that is the RET, real estate investment trusts, and InvITs, that is infrastructure investment trusts. So these funds invest in such kind of InvITs or REITs and ultimately invest into the real estate or the infrastructures, and again invest in for some long period of time, and ultimately will make some money. The next criteria, the next type of the AIF is the debt funds. So the name clearly sounds what could be the debt fund is. The debt fund is something which involves investing into the debt securities of the listed or the unlisted investees companies according to the stated objectives of the fund. It's more or less same sort of the mutual funds which are specifically investing into the debt fund, the debt mutual funds only. The only difference is these funds only we can invest in the unlisted securities or unlisted investee companies, but the mutual fund only invest into the listed one. The very last fund type of the AIF is, it's not very much renowned, but it's still in the list. The fund is social venture funds. So social venture funds are the ones which acquire the securities or units of the social ventures, and as per the policies of the laid down by the fund. Social venture could be the promoting the social welfare or solving the social problems or the providing the social benefits. It could be the amusement activities. It could be any fund through which you these social ventures has been carried on. So these are the broad classifications of the AIF types, correct? So moving to the next slide, we have the criteria, the categories of the AIFs. So the category of AIFs are actually it has been globally written that there are three categories of the AIF. The three categories is the category 1, 2, and 3. In first category, there falls the venture capitalist funds, SME funds, social venture funds, and infrastructure funds. So at this category 1, the risk appetite is low. In category 2, the private equity fund falls and the debt fund falls. So again, here the risk appetite is low as compared to the category 3 and high as compared to category 1, because the funding amount is huge into category 2, and the period of investment is also a long duration fund. It's hardly been seen that a private equity fund with less than a 10 years of tenure. So it requires a little bit more risk exposure as compared to category 1. And last but not the least category, the category 3, the most diverse, the complex trading strategies that involve the hedge funds. So these categories are is something which are highly meant for the individuals who have a lot of spare money. These are not meant for the a common man, and these are involving a huge risk takers, and hedge funds are just being allowed by India and to the some extent because only some corporates are having this hedge funds, and it's mainly been promoted into the US and the UK as of now. So as you can see this arrow which I have mentioned over here, and I've specifically written that increasing risk by category. So if you invest into the category 1, the risk is comparatively low to category 2. And if you invest into the category 2, the risk is relatively higher than category 1 but relatively low than category 3. And in category 3, this is the most highest risky investments we could have seen across the globe. So these are about the briefing about the all the AIF types, the alternative investment fund categories globally. So moving to the next slide, I'm going to start with the private equity firstly, the category 2 AIFs. So there are the four phases on the private equity. As I've just mentioned that there are roughly a tenure of 10 to 15 years. In majority cases, it's 10 years only. So the four phases of private equity will be the formation or the commitment first. The commitment is when a private equity fund considers a potential investee and then decides to invest. So that is something, the formation or the commitment. Second is the investment. When a particular fund makes a investment into any company or any potential investee company. The third stage is harvesting, because after investment, as I just said, it requires a lot of years to grow. So this phase is the harvesting. Harvesting consists of consistently been monitoring all the investments which the fund has made, consistently been looking about the scope of the business, and what are the potential benefits which they are going to make in the coming future, or if the investment has been done in the wrong phase, because it has not been assured that if you have made the investment, then it is surely going to make the money for you, because these are highly risky funds. So it involves the other side could be as well in in this sort of investments. So in the harvesting period, the fund managers usually checks or ensures whether the investment made by them is correct or not, or are they required to dilute their investments at this point of time, or are they required to increase their investments as they could have made a much better amount by investing more. So we will see, I will give you the examples as well about the investments of the various corporates made so far. And last but not the last phase, the extension or the dilution. So dissolution is something they exit at the end of the when the general partners decide that fund is the fund has already been made some good amount of money, or the maximum amount which they could have made from this investment has already been accrued. So they usually realize those funds and exit from those companies. So these are the broad four phases of the private equity. So next slide is the private equity fund structure and the fees. So here I want all of you to little bit concentrate more, because this is the thing which, if anyone wants to make a career into the private equity, these sort of questions you could have into your interview as well. So what we usually call the investors and the mutual and the manager in private equity domain. So the manager is called as the general partner in private equity, the fund manager. In When we talk about the mutual fund, we usually call it as a mutual fund manager. In private equity, we used to call that person as a general partner. And when it comes to the investors in mutual fund, we used to call them as a mutual fund investors. But in private equity, we used to call him as a limited partner. So GP and LP. Uh, I repeat, GP stands for general partner and LP stands for limited partner. Now, what happens is, or what the fund structure is, there is, let's say, there the fund structure, the fund tenure is of the 10 years. So, firstly, the investment period. The very first point is committed capital. The amount is drawn down over a period of 3 to 5 years. Drawdown period is decided by the fund manager. It is called as the initiation also. So what does this mean? In each and every private equity fund, the investing period is roughly 3 to 5 years. So what does this mean exactly? So this means a fund manager, the general partner, calls for the committed capital, which you have committed to the fund manager that you are going to contribute to the fund over the period of 5 years, over the period of 10 years. You have to give within next 3 to 5 years, because see, if you make an investment at the third year or in the fifth year, then it will require at least 3 to 4 years or 5 years or couple of years to grow, to harvest. Then only you will be in a position to exit from that fund by making some amount. So that's why the investment capital, the investment period is only at the initiation. And in the initiation of the fund, you can see that the general partner makes some very uh, capital call notices. So if any one of us have ever worked into the private equity, used to hear these terms from the master funds or from the general partners that I'm going to make the capital call, or we are going to make the distributions in at the end form, at the end of the tenure when we exit from any positions. So this is the very first thing about the private equity, that the 3 to 5 year tenure is the timeline for investment of any fund. In this tenure, they want to ask for all your committed capital. So the next thing about the private equity is the management fees. So what is the management fee structure? In this private equity, there is a typical uh, structure of the management fee or the fees linked to the performance. The structure is 2 is to 20. So 2 is the management fees the general partner or the fund manager or fund is going to charge to all the investors, irrespective of the fact that you have made the money, that fund manager have made the money for you or not. So this is going to be the fixed one. The basis could be the different. I have mentioned in my PPT about on the commitment capital. It could be on the uncommitted capital. It could be on the committed capital. It could be on the class-wise investors. It could be on the various other basis. So generally, it has been seen that it's on the committed capital only. Then what is the 20? I have just mentioned that the fee structure we usually see in private equity or in the hedge funds as well. So the fee structure is 2 is to 20. So 2 is to 20. 20 is the performance-based fees. It is generally been 20, although it will depend upon the LPA. Now, what is this LPA? LPA is Limited Partnership Agreement. So limited partnership agreement is a sort of agreement. It will be between the fund and the investors, which are the limited partners, which are invested, have consented to invest into the private equity fund. So this is between the so according to the LPA, there have been specifically written about all the terms and conditions, the fund scope, the fund tenure, the fund manager necessary qualifications, its past performances, each and everything has already been mentioned into the private equity LPA, that is limited partnership agreements. So it has generally been seen that it is 20%, but it's not mandatory that it's going to be 20% in each and every case, but majoritarily it is 20%. Just a second. Yeah. So the 20%, I consider it as a 20% because it is of the majority of the cases. So how this 20% is going to be calculated of the profits? So profits are something which has already been realized one, and the profits could be the notional one as well. Because see, the fund invests into the multiple corporates which are unlisted mainly. So those unlisted corporates give the valuations, and on the basis of those valuations, we are required to calculate the NAVs, that is the net asset values. Net asset values could be calculated, or there are many funds whose NAVs are required to be calculated on quarterly basis, on monthly basis, or on half yearly basis even. So on the basis on by calculating these NAVs, the profit could be the notional as well, because we know that I've already been made the investment and the investment is 20% already hike, but there is still the potential in that investment that we can make 50% more. So the private equity fund manager, the GP, will definitely going to hold, and such notional profits will be also be considered. So the incentive fees, there are two typical methods of calculation of the incentive fees, 20%, and thus two methods of such calculation are the American style and the second one is the European style. I want you all to focus on these 2 points, the American style deal by deal and the second one is European style. So these are the systems which has, these are the styles which has been globally accepted, and these are very much uh, you know favorite question of the of the interviewers, correct? So American style and the European style. So what is the American style? American style is deal by deal. Deal by deal means if a fund manager has invested, let's say 10% of fund amount into the lines. All okay. Let's consider Zomato because it has already been a listed company. So let's consider a company X, not even a Zomato. So a company X, the fund manager has invested 100 crores into that. Let's suppose this, and on that investment, after a couple of years, the fund manager can exit from that position at 150 crores after a couple of years. So, and the other investments are already being made, but the other investments are not in a position to be exited now because they could be in the potential loss, although they have not yet reached the benchmark return which the fund manager has expected from the return from the investment. So in American style, in deal by deal, the realized profit that is of the 50 crores, the GP will gonna ask you for the 20% of the performance fees after the hurdle rate. That is the which we usually call the alpha. If the investor, the partner, the general partner has given the return more than the benchmark, which is the market return, or we usually call the alpha in the stock in the capital markets. So if he has generated that alpha, then we that fund manager is required for to for this is eligible for this 20%. That incentive is a 20% on that alpha. So this is the American style. And the second style is European one. European one is totally different. European one says a fund manager only asks for 20% of the profits when that fund has exited from all the positions. There is no notional profits or losses standing as on that date. So all the investments has been realized as of now. Then only they will calculate over the period of 10 years or over the period of 8 years or over the period of 12 years whatever the tenure is of the fund is, then they will calculate the European the alpha if the fund manager has generated over this tenure, and if the fund partner or if the general partner has really generated this alpha, then only he will be allowed the 20% of those profits. It could be 15%. It will totally depend upon the LPA. You have to study the LPA in respect of each and every fund. So American style is something which is being preferred by the general partners. It has not been generally accepted by the limited partners because it could be possible that in one investment, the fund manager has given some good returns or made some alpha. But it is also possible that in other investments, there could be the potential losses. So in American style, if there are the funds which have the American style of the waterfall calculations, so there will be another clause into that fund that will be the next last clause which is written over here, the clawback provisions. Now again, it is a very important case or the concept when it comes to the American style. Clawback provision means if a person, firstly I would like to read this, if portfolio returns are high earlier, just like I've said the 50 crore investment return he has made from one investment and decline later, because it could be possible that fund manager has some exposure into the other funds. So then this provision requires the fund manager to return any periodic incentive fees. The incentive fees is 20% of the profits. If he has already been paid the 20% of the profits of the alpha, then and then after the profits decline in the further years, then he is required, that fund manager is required to return those amount to the limited partners. So in Crux, the American style, it is a deal by deal. It has been preferred by the general partners only, and in European style, it has been generally been preferred by the limited partners. And you have to study the LPAs for each and everything. LPAs are detailed agreements which have all the terms and conditions. It will be of the a sort of agreement. It is not something any exceptional one. It's just an agreement having the multiple pages written each and everything about the fund, the investor, the investee, their tenure, their rights. If the general partner does their rights, their duties. If the general partner does not do according to the stated objectives, then what are the rights or what are the actions the general limited partners can take against the fund? Each and everything will be mentioned in the LPA. So this is the broad classification or the best, the fee structure and the fee types of private equity. And for your knowledge and fee, that's 2 and 20. The management fees and the incentive fees, the 2 and 20 structure has also been in case of the hedge funds. Just for your knowledge. So moving to the next slide. So private equity funds have the J type of structure for all your knowledge. So firstly focus into the year 1 to 3. Just I have mentioned, in year 1 we have made the commitment. Likewise we see we have made the commitment, we have made the investments. So in next 3 to 4 years it could be possible that it's going to decline. The reason could be only the capital calls, because we have asked the limited partners to invest. We are not giving them the return. We are just calling the capital from them. Then we are harvesting into this period, with year 4 to year 7 somewhere. We are in harvesting, we are growing our investments. We are closely watching the companies in which we have made the investment. And from this year 7 onwards, we are in a position to make the amount. And at the year of 10, you see 10, 11, or at the time of the exiting the position, we are in a position to make the amount for the investors. So that's why it is also known as the J curve effect in terms of this private equity. So I've also mentioned this on the right side. Early years of private equity fund are characterized by negative cash flows because of the capital fees and management fees. The chart shows the fund does not have the return on any capital until year 3, but it's the meantime it's the investment period, and then the time that comes to the exit time, exit the early deal, distributions are made, and consequently the net cash flows of the fund break even in the year 7 and become the positive. So this is the tenure, this is how the private equity fund works, and this data will be seen in each and every type of the fund into the private equity. So the next is the thorough deal structuring phases of the private equity. How does this exactly private equity deal gonna take place? How many phases could be there? Or what is, you know, I'm a company. Let's suppose I'm having a company XYZ Limited, and I'm having some good startup. I'm good running good, and there comes I want to expand my business, and for this I want some investors, and I'm an unlisted company. So I would gonna ask or approach or pitch some good private equity players into the market for investment into my company. I'm in a position to sell my stake in order to expand as I'm having a good idea. So how does this deal structuring works exactly when it comes to the private equity? So firstly the various there first 12 steps according to me, there could be the 13, there could be 14, because it's not somewhere written specifically in any law that there will be only a 12 one. So these are the broad 12 steps in private equity deal structuring phases. So the first one is the sourcing and teaser. Sourcing is just discovering and assessing an investment opportunity, a very broad term. Likewise, I am sitting with Nitin Kanwal and I'm just discussing with him, sir, what could be, I have some, let's suppose 100 crores with me of 10 investors. So where should I invest? Do you have any lead? So this is sort of, discussing an investment opportunity with some good professionals who already were been working into the market. So this is the sourcing. This is the first step. The second could be the teaser. Teaser is something, a two-page summary written by a financial intermediary about a company, a sort of briefing about the company, what is a company or not. Like of, we can call it as a resume of a candidate. A resume we use to make for ourselves a resume of the company. The teaser is a resume for a company. Next step is signing a non-disclosure agreement. Let's suppose I am in a position to invest in some company. Let's say Nitin Kanwar sir said that yes, Vishal, this XYZ company is a good company, and if you want to invest, then you can make some investments. So I'm going to approach with this XYZ company and going to sign with a non-disclosure agreement because see, private equity deals are very much confidential as the investments are into the unlisted corporates. We are not supposed to disclose anything. So each and every candidate, each and every party signs a non-disclosure agreement from the, with both the parties along with their lawyers. Next step is the initial due diligence. And initial due diligence will be at in the, very at the very briefing stage, at the initial stages. It will be not be in big depth. So it will be, at a bird's eye view sort of thing, which a company does, a private equity company does. Next step is investment proposal. The investment team, the person who has done this initial due diligence, will gonna send their initial remarks or initial reviews to the investment committee of the PE firm, and they just generally discuss whether they are interested in investment into this or not. Next step is the first round bid or non-binding letter of intent. The investment team will provide the target company with letter of intent for transaction. So they're gonna consider many things while making the first letter of intent. What could be the potential price? They're gonna make the assessment on their own. They are not discussing it with the client. They're just discussing at their own level in the boardroom. If we make such investment with the expected company, what could be their purchase price? What could be their value creation? What's the scope? What's the risk criteria? Their risk appetite? Their upcoming scope? Their upcoming years? Each and everything. So if still they are the PE fund, the PE team or the investment committee is interested, so they make the further due diligence. Further due diligence here could be the, now they are gonna dig into the depth because they are now at the stage when they have made their opinion that yes, we are going to make the investment into this company. So it will be involving this time as reading the board reports or the minutes, employee details, employee terms and agreements, the key employees, their documentation related to the intellectual property is one of the key things in today's fintech corporates. One of the key things. So next thing is creating the internal operating model. An operating model is a highly detailed revenue and the cost breakdown. It is something which we known as a financial modeling, I would say. Financial modeling is just something we're gonna consider the last 5 years of the company and looking for the next project in the next 5 to 10 years of the corporate. Like in the case of the Geo, I've just taken, I will take the example of the Geo as well. So in case of the Geo, the equity value, if I'm not wrong, was somewhere 4 trillion rupees, and the enterprise value was 5.2 trillion rupees. When the Geo platforms has considered foreign investments of somewhere 32% approximately. So these figures have been derived from this creating the internal operating models. Next step, sorry, yeah. Next step is the preliminary investment memorandum. It is something again a detailed uh, report. I would say a 30 to 40 page report or document considering each and everything. And such report has been made for the top level management of the private equity fund for the general partners. This is the crux of the investment now, which up to the management committee whether to go for that or not. A sort of, I would say, a management information system we use to study in the IT. We make for the top level management. So it is some such sort of thing. The last one is the final due diligence. Final due diligence is something which, when a fund has decided to go for the investment and decide, then the partners, the general partners, or usually sits or interacts on daily basis with the management of the target company. It's something like a nominee director we have seen in many of the board of companies when the financial institutions have made some or lended some good amount of money to the corporates. So this is the scenario. This is some same sort of scenario as a nominee director. So the last steps or the three last steps, it could be the final investment committee approval. Just be the yes, we are going to make this, or when they are fully convinced, they make the final bid, final bidding into this. It's approved by the investing committee. Deal team will proceed with final binding, and such bid will include the final buying price, financial documents, and preliminary merger agreements. And last step would be the signing the deal. In signing a deal, there will be the various negotiations between the lawyers of the corporates of both sides, the stake which they invest in the target company is ready to dilute, and the stake which the private equity fund manager wants to acquire through by giving the consideration or by investing that amount. So I've given there are 12 steps in broad sense, but in practical life it requires a lot of time because it's not something which we can take or we can make call within a month or couple of months. It's gonna take a multiple months or could take even a year as well or multiple years to take a call whether to invest in or not. As the amount size or amount of investment is huge, so it requires a lot of time, a lot of due diligence on the part of the company to make some good investments. So this is the broad criteria. This is the broader sense of investing into the restructuring phases of the private equity. So sir, now I'm just focusing my presentation to the scope of the private equity or the alternative investment funds into the India. These snapshots, I have taken the snapshot from the SEBI site. You can see at the end the SEBI by registered alternative investment funds. This information has been submitted to SEBI by registered AIFs. So this is the amount which a fund we have at 31st December 2017, and I would like to focus on all of you to this figure, that is 141,119, and this figure is in crores. So it says that we have made an investment as an India AIF stands at 1,41,000 crore investment as on 31st December 2017 in all three categories: category 1, category 2, and category 3. And I have now this next snapshot is of 31st December 2019, and the investment stood at roughly 3,50,000 crores. So this ultimately shows the scope of the AIFs of into the India over the coming or for the upcoming years, because it's somewhere 125% raised in couple of years into the amount of investment of in India of AIFs. So you can access these snapshots from the SEBI site as well. If you want to know the sources, you can just type on the Google and you have this all these information from the SEBI site. Sir, I want to now let you know all about there's a difference between the private equity front end, as in the mutual fund management, and the mutual fund administration. That is the private equity managing the money and the private equity fund administration one. Whereas there are two different things. Now, what is the fund administration thing? Firstly, fund administration is something we can say as you know, we make the accounting, we do each and everything, calculate the NAVs, which I have mentioned that could be the quarterly or monthly in different funds. So the demand could be the fund administration in 2020. I have made a snapshot, and the fund administration is we are required to calculate the NAVs, we are required to calculate management fees, we are required to calculate performance-based fees, we are required to make the capital call notices for distribution notices. So each and everything we are going to make the accounting for each and every one on daily basis. So that is the thing which relates to the fund administration. I've gathered the source. The source is Frequent Flow. It is a very renowned corporate having the databases of the alternative investment funds globally. So in this figure, you can easily see in 2020 in Asia, specifically to the third block, then in 2020 it has been the new investments, the new relationships have been 76% as compared into the 2019. So this clearly shows that many n number of the corporates are coming into the India and their back-end work, because fund administration is something which I call back-end, and private equity main investment or the fund management is known as the front end. In layman language, it's not somewhere written officially, but it's a layman language. This is the back-end work, and many of the KPOs have already been working into this domain. And these KPOs are mainly been working into the Pune, Mumbai, and the Bangalore. Usually, only few of the KPOs are working into this domain as a private equity fund administration or might be the hedge fund administration into the Gurgaon or Delhi NCR. So the scope of this AIF administration work into the India is huge, as this you can see from this snapshots. So moving to the next slide, I have taken this recent private equity deal tax in 2020. The biggest deal of the 2020 private equity I think we all are aware of this. The FDI was somewhere 32.97, 33% approx. And the deal size was, if I'm not wrong, it's somewhere 1 trillion rupees. Uh, the private equity players invested into these geo platforms. And they are the major funds or the major investors which came just for this investment. So a third fund, if you just look at the third investee, so these are the private equity funds, the Vista Equity Partners or Silver Lake Partners, and these more. I have gathered one of the synopsis of the profit made by the private equity players in the other cases as well. We might have heard about the Carlyle Group. So this is the most renowned group when it comes to private equity globally, and it's been operating in India from Bangalore. So this group invested into the SBI card. We all know about the SBI card IPO floated into in the month of February, I think February or March, if I'm not wrong. So in that month, Carlyle acquired 26% of the SBI card stake in 2017 and sold only 10%. And they exited from that position by making 7 times profit from its IPO. 700% profit from its IPO. They made this much amount from the SBI card IPO by selling the 10% stake. That too within roughly 3 years max to max. They acquired this in 2017. The private equity firm bought the stake in 2017 for about 2,000 crores. And the SBI card IPO likely value Carlyle stake at 15,600 crores and almost 700% gain from the purchase price. So see, this is the level of the private equity. They are investing of somewhere 2,000 crores and they are making somewhere 15 or 16,000 crores at a time. So this is the level of the private equity. Another example I would like to quote for the private equity is about the AU Small Finance Bank. You all have known that RBI has distributed the license for the small finance banks to the 10 microfinance or the NBFCs in 2016. One of them was the AU Small Finance Bank. So I would like all you to read the last line. The private equity companies that provided the venture capital, including the Warburg Bankers and the International Financial Corporation, made the partial exits for as much as the 9 times of their original investment. I repeat, 9 times of their original investment. So this is the scenario. This is the way how the private equity players make the money. They make money within 3 to 4 years or 5 years. But when they make money, they're gonna make huge amount of money for themselves and for their investors. They make 7 times, 4 times, 5 times. It's just a thing which they usually make in when they make the investments. So these are some examples which are quoted. There could be any number of examples in the across the world. Are majorly taken of the deals which are very renowned of the year Geo as well as the SBI card IPO and the AU one which took multiple years ago because AU listed some years ago. But it's very renowned, private equity investment in India. Next thing I have added in my slide is the list of NBFCs and microfinance companies. Many of you would be wondering why I have added this. So the reason for adding is this because all these 10 banks to whom the RBI has given the license of operating as a small finance bank, they are going to, or many of them have already been landed with an IPO into India, and many of them are going to come with an IPO. For example, the Utkarsh Small Finance Bank. So this bank is going to come with an IPO within next year because there is an RBI clause that if a small finance bank reaches a net worth of 500 crores or more mark, then it is supposed to lend with an IPO or come up with an IPO within next 3 years from such date. So many of the small finance banks have already been approached, have already been came up with an IPO just like the AU Small Finance Bank. But many of them are also going to come with them just like in smaller finance bank. So if you're gonna ask or refer to balance sheets of these banks at a glance in a broader view, you can see many of the private equity players have made their investment in such banks. They have acquired the stake and they're gonna exit with their stake when these banks have listed, going to list in an upcoming time. Just I mentioned in the previous slide about the case of the EU Small Finance Bank and their private equity players. Sir, Nitin sir, hello. Hello. All right, might be Nitin sir is stuck up with something. So let's move on with the top private equity players we are having in this domain, and they are one of the most investment figures in India. So there would be very much renowned figures could be the ICICI Venture Capital Fund, Venture Fund Management raised roughly 3 billion USDs in the last decade. The Kotak Private Equity Fund raised somewhere 2.8 billion US dollars since 1997. These are just the figures. What I really want to show or want you to know that the scope of the private equity is huge in the coming years. They have made some very good amount of the investments in the last one decade or couple of decades, and the upcoming tenure of the upcoming time in the India for the fund administration work as well as the front end private equity is huge, but it requires a lot of hard work, and they require a lot of extreme qualifications when it comes to be a general partner or anyone entering or wants to have the aspiration to enter into this private equity. Next slide is just for the information, that is who are the top 10 private equity firms into the world. So these are the firms which are operating across the world. The Carlyle Group is in the India, it operates from Bangalore. The Blackstone Group operates from Mumbai. I know that one. Rest, you have to check whether they are operating into the India or not, because they might have the direct office into India, but it could be possible that they are not operating directly in India. They are operating from outside India, but these are the global offices. Now this slide could be useful for the candidates who want to enter into the private equity as a career perspective. So what this course is all about? This course is Chartered Alternate Investment Analyst.
विशाल एक काम करो, एक बार वीडियो ऑफ करके देख लो। वो कह रहे हैं कि ऑडियो थोड़ा सा ठीक नहीं आ रहा है, तो वीडियो एक बार ऑफ करो, क्या पता वो नेट में दिक्कत हो तो शायद ऑडियो ठीक हो जाएगा, पॉसिबिलिटी है। एक बार वीडियो ऑफ करके एक बार देख ले भाई।
ऑफ वीडियो
नहीं, अपनी वीडियो ऑफ कर लो, अपनी वीडियो ऑफ कर लो, सो दैट आपकी ऑडियो प्रॉपर आ जाए। ऑडियो प्रॉपर नहीं आ पा रही है, वो कह रहे हैं ऑडियो प्रॉपर नहीं आ रही है, दिक्कत नहीं आ रही है, ऑडियो में दिक्कत आ रहा है। आप वीडियो ऑफ करोगे ना, आप बोलना शुरू करोगे तो कंफर्टेबल हो जाएगा, मुझे लगता है।
चलें स्टार्ट करूं?
प्लीज भाई, प्लीज स्टार्ट करो।
Now the next steps are very much renowned course in which we yet not know in India is the Chartered Alternate Investment Analyst. So the Chartered Alternate Investment Analyst is something a niche course into the AIF industry. So it consists of the two levels. So this course could be the relevant one for those persons who want to make career into the AIF industry as a general partner. It is a very renowned platform into the outside countries, because see, in India AIFs are not that much renowned. But when it comes to, or if anyone is having a dream to settle outside India, then one can go for this course, because this course is that much renowned, just like as a CFA, that is Chartered Financial Analyst. So this course is a niche course into the AIF industry. The fee ranges for this, it consists of two levels firstly. So the fee ranges from somewhere 2,700 US dollars to 2,900 US dollars. There could be the two levels, and if anyone is pursuing or have already completed the CFA, that Chartered Financial Analyst, all three levels, that too holding a chartered holder, then that candidate can directly go for the level 2, because that candidate is having has granted an exemption from this course platform. The topics of this CAIA, the KAIA, we used to call it as the KAIA. It's not CAIA, which we usually pronounce globally is KAIA. So the topics covered in this KAIA are the professional ethics, the hedge funds, real estate, private equity, structured products, and the risk management and the portfolio management. So these are the something which I have given in the broad sense. This course would be the relevant who want to make their future into the AIF industry, or want to be the hedge fund manager, or want to be the private equity general partner, or want to be the venture capitalist, or want to be on the lead, because it requires a lot of time to be a manager, to the general partner. So this course could be helpful for the person if he is already a chartered accountant and are also pursuing this course. So this will really help that person. So the next slide is the stages of the about the startup funding. Now the private equity, I have already done with this private equity and the courses, the scope, each and everything. The next topic would be the startup funding, that is the venture capitalism. Nitin sir, hello.
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 Hello. Yes, Vishal.
Sir, now I would like to, just answer some questions if anyone have, because it's already been an hour.
You can. You can. Hello.
Hello. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You can do it. You can do it.
So, sir, are there any questions? As I'm unable to see the questions if anyone is having. Sir, are there any questions pending for me, or is there anyone who wants to ask something related to this?
There is one question. I think no. Vishal, there is one question. Ki, uh, as you said, he is a chartered accountant who is in practice or who is in the job, we can do this kayak course.
Mhm.
What is the basic requirement of the course? What is the basic qualification? I mean, is it chartered accountant or CFA or what is the basic qualification for this?
No, sir, the basic qualification is just the graduation. It has its license office in Mumbai. It's
Okay.
not in Delhi NCR. I know the one person who is the director of this, the associate director, because these courses are having, the chapter, as we are, the ICI is having the foreign chapters outside India. So these courses will also have the offices in India, just like the CFA, just like the CFA India Society. So it's also at the same level. But this course is focusing only on into the AIF industry, that alternative investments. It will not focus on portfolio management or valuation or investment banking, I would say. This will
Okay.
only focus on the specific 6 criteria which I've mentioned, the topics covered.
Okay. Okay. So I mean, any graduate. I mean, graduate naturally he
Yes,
must
sir.
be in some commerce or something. So he can opt for this career
Yes,
course.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because see, this is a professional course just like a CA degree. So one
Okay.
needs to buy the material, register for himself or herself, and gonna appear for the exam on the exam day. Nothing. If you want to go for the coaching, then you have to. It's up to you whether you're gonna self study or you're gonna go for coaching. It's totally up to that candidate.
Okay. 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 And one more thing, Vishal.
Sir.
Uh, as you said, the teaser part.
Yes, sir.
If someone is there and he wants to go for the teaser part, whom he is going to contact in the beginning? That is the biggest bottleneck. जहाँ पे क्या है कि if we have got or our client has got something in hand, but how
Mhm.
does he approach?
So see, there are the two things.
Yeah.
Because see, let's suppose I'm running a company XYZ Limited and I want to expand and I am running at some good at level and I'm looking for some investor. And
Okay.
let's suppose you, Gaur sir, is the private equity fund manager. You are running up some fund or you are associated with some fund manager. Like
Hmm.
let's suppose Nitin sir is the fund manager and you are the friend of Nitin sir and you are the professional and I know you. So
Okay.
I just come to you, Nitin, God sir, मेरे को ये problem आ रही है और I'm looking for some investor. So do you
Okay.
have anyone or someone who have this appetite to invest into my fund or my business? So
Okay.
you say, then yeah, sir, I have my one of the friend or one of my colleague who is into the private equity fund management and he's operating at a good level and he's also looking for some good investments.
Mhm.
So you approach him, then Nitin said, then Nitin sir, you made a deal, a sort of deal, fixing a meeting between a target company and the private equity player. So there will be the financial intermediary as well in some cases if the corporate is working at some good level.
Okay. Right. Right. So means
So
you need someone to pitch.
it could be possible, but it could also be possible. Likewise, I know Nitin sir directly. Let's suppose I know Nitin sir directly. I don't gonna directly approach or pitch Nitin sir. Sir, see, I'm making this much amount. I'm gonna disclose all the financials to you. मेरे
Mhm.
सारे financial statements आप check करिए. If you are
Mhm.
interested, then I would be happy. If you are not, then also okay.
ओके ओके।
विशाल इसे विशाल विशाल इसको स्क्रीन को स्टॉप शेयरिंग कर ले और यू कैन प्लीज पुट योर वीडियो ऑन प्लीज, एक बार बात भी कर लेंगे सबसे। अब अपना वीडियो ऑन कर ले मेरे भाई। विशाल, जैसे सर ने बताया कि सर ने 2-3 क्वेश्चन पूछे कि भैया बेसिकली जब हम टीजर फंड्स की बात करें, टीजर की बात हो, स्टार्टिंग की बात होती है, तो आई बिलीव अगर मैं सब सीएस की बात करूं, हम जितने सीएस सुन रहे हैं, जितने प्रोफेशनल सुन रहे हैं, तो व्हाट आर एक्चुअली टेक अवेज क्या है? मतलब मैं अगर हम मान ले आज को स्टार्टअप आता है, राइट, तो नो डाउट आज कॉम्प्लायंस में तो सारे सीएस बहुत अच्छे हैं, एडवोकेट बहुत अच्छे हैं, कहीं कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, सबको जीएसटी आता है, सबको इनकम टैक्स आता है, जितनी नॉलेज चाहिए, जितना कंपनी लॉ आता है, सब कुछ आता है। ओनली इशू इज टू पिच इन फॉर द फंडिंग, राइट, दैट इज द की इज द फंडिंग। और कई बार कई लोगों को दिक्कत आती है कि पता लगा कि आप फंड जो दिलाता है, मतलब काम भी बोले जाता है, समझ रहे हैं? तो अब ऑफिस बात है, फंड भी चाहिए क्लाइंट को, तो क्लाइंट को भी लगता है यार अगर आप फंड दिला नहीं सकते तो भैया ये तो कॉम्प्लायंस तो मैं किससे भी करा लूंगा, समझ रहे हैं? तो व्हाट आर द थिंग्स टू बी डन, क्या क्या ध्यान रखना चाहिए, किस तरह से आपने लिंक सबके बढ़ने चाहिए, क्या क्या करना चाहिए हिसाब से, और कंपनी के लिए क्या क्या आप तैयार रखें, क्योंकि ऐसा ना हो कि पता लगा कंपनी जब सामने वाली कंपनी ड्यू डिलिजेंस के लिए आए, यू विल कम टू नो, पता लगा ये भी तैयार नहीं है, 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 समझ रहे हैं? तो व्हाट मोर टू बी डन, जो टेक अवेज फॉर द, कि हम पहले तो कंपनी की तैयारी कैसे रखें, एक बात, दैट इज द टेक अवे। द सेकंड थिंग इज कि भैया मुझे अप्रोच कैसे करना है और किससे बात करनी है, क्या तरीका है, और मुझे किस तरीके से पेपर्स बना के रखने चाहिए, ताकि मैं अगर पिच भी कर पाऊं, मान लो मैं विशाल आपके थ्रू भी जाऊं, तो इनिशियली कुछ क्या पेपर में इनिशियली क्या दूंगा, 2 पेज 4 पेज 10 पेज का कोई लेट कागज दूंगा, सो दैट उसको मोटा मोटा तो बताओ कि भैया मैं किस में इन्वेस्ट कर रहा हूँ, समझ रहे हैं?
करेक्ट करेक्ट। सो सर, फर्स्टली यदि कोई अपने बिजनेस में, चाहे वो कोई भी बिजनेस हो, चाहे वो फिनटेक स्टार्टअप है, चाहे वो एक प्रोफेशनल का स्टार्टअप है, जैसे आपने कहा कि सीएज है, या कोई मैन्युफैक्चरिंग यूनिट है, कुछ भी है सर, जैसे जियो ही है सर, चलिए जियो एक वो टेक्नोलॉजी स्टार्टअप, टेलीकम्युनिकेशन कंपनी है सर, तो ये, या बायजूस है सर, बायजूस में आप देखिए सॉफ्ट बैंक का बहुत बड़ा स्टेक है सर, अभी मुझे फिगर्स एग्जैक्टली याद नहीं है बिकॉज ये फ्लक्चुएट होती रहती है इन्वेस्टमेंट, बट सॉफ्ट बैंक का इन्वेस्टमेंट है, ओला में है सर, ANI टेक्नोलॉजीज प्राइवेट लिमिटेड इज द नेम ऑफ ओला, एंड उसमें आपका सॉफ्ट बैंक का स्टेक है सर। तो ये क्या करना होता है ना सर, सबसे पहली चीज़ आती है किसी भी स्टार्टअप को या फिर किसी भी कंपनी को फंडिंग लेके आने के लिए, दैट विल बी दी ब्रांडिंग, जो मेरे हिसाब से होना चाहिए, एक ब्रांड एस्टैब्लिश होना चाहिए सर। ओला के फाइनेंशियल्स ना मैंने नहीं देखे थे, मुझे नहीं पता किस किसने देखे हैं आप सब में से, बट जितना मुझे सुनने में आता है फ्रॉम वेरियस सोर्सेज, दीज ऑल स्टार्टअप्स आर वर्किंग एट लॉसेस मेजॉरिटी इन द इनिशियल फेजेस, दे मेक मनी बट वो कुछ समय के बाद बनाते हैं, इनिशियली दे रन इनटू द लॉसेस, चाहे वो फ्लिपकार्ट ही था सर, दे रन इनटू द लॉसेस, दे आर रिक्वायर्ड टू बर्न सम कैश, चाहे ये ग्रोफर्स है सर, चाहे आपका बिग बास्केट है, ये जितने भी स्टार्टअप्स हैं, बट इन्होंने क्या किया सर, दे मेक देयर नेम इनटू दी मार्केट। अभी ओला को हर एक गांव में लोग जानते हैं कि ओला या उबर नाम की एक टैक्सी रन होती है या जोमेटो से खाना मंगाया जाता है, ये सबको पता है, उसके पीछे क्या हो रहा है ये नहीं पता। सो फर्स्ट थिंग इज मार्केट रीच, लोगों को पता हो कि दिस इज अ ब्रांड, ये ब्रांड एस्टैब्लिश कर दिया, अभी वो लॉसेस में है या प्रॉफिट में वो नहीं है अभी उसका लेना देना, क्योंकि उसकी वैल्यूएशन क्राइटेरिया आते हैं, क्योंकि सर सी लेट सपोज मैं जोमेटो हूँ, लेट सपोज, और मैं कहता हूँ मुझे इन्वेस्टमेंट चाहिए क्योंकि जोमेटो एकदम से एक्सपांड नहीं हुआ, अब उसके लिए सर वैल्यूएशन जब होगी तो वो नेगेटिव है क्योंकि वो लॉसेज में है, वो उसका नेट प्रॉफिट पॉजिटिव है ही नहीं, तो उसकी वैल्यूएशन में आते हैं। वैल्यूएशन सर मेरे को पहले लगता था कि इट डिपेंड्स ऑन द नेट प्रॉफिट यू मेक, but it doesn't make on the basis of net profit, it has been done on the various other factors, it could be the market reach, लोग कितना जानते हैं, जोमेटो की ऐप जो हम फोन में ऐप स्टोर है, हम कितने यूजर्स ने जोमेटो ऐप डाउनलोड किया है अपने फोन में, उसके बाद कितना डेटाबेस है, उसके बाद डेटाबेस होगा जो कि हम रजिस्टर करते हैं आपके ऊपर, उसका ट्रेडमार्क, यदि कोई ट्रेडमार्क है या फिर कोई एक्सक्लूसिव राइट्स या पेटेंट्स उसने रजिस्टर करा रखे हैं फॉर सो फार, तो वो क्या है, उसकी वैल्यूएशन ऑफ इंटेंजिबल्स और इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी राइट्स का बहुत बड़ा रोल प्ले होता है व्हेन इट कम्स टू वैल्यूएशन। सो पहली चीज़ तो सर यहीं पे आती है मार्केटिंग वाली और ब्रांडिंग वाली, कि आप उसको किस तरीके से मार्केट में फ्लोट करते हैं, एक 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 बेंचमार्क क्रिएट करके करना, चाहे वो सर योर वॉइस इज
सॉरी सॉरी विशाल, लेकिन दिक्कत कहाँ पे आ रही है कि अगर मैं वो जो पर्टिकुलर मार्केटिंग के लिए जो सीड फंडिंग है, इनिशियली सीड फंडिंग है, जो मुझे कैश बर्न करना है, राइट, इनिशियली जो अपने लॉसेस लेने हैं, व्हाटएवर इट इज, क्योंकि मुझे हाउस होल्ड नाम बनाना है, मुझे हर जगह नाम बनाना है। जैसे मैं आज नॉलेज ट्री की बात करता हूँ, दैट्स नॉट नॉलेज ट्री, राइट। मैंने और गौर साहब ने शुरू किया, अब हम चाहते हैं, गौर साहब चाहते हैं, हम चाहते हैं कि हर बंदे के फोन पे नॉलेज ट्री का लोगो होना चाहिए, समथिंग, व्हाटएवर इट इज। अब वो इनिशियली सीड फंडिंग कहाँ से लाएंगे, आप समझ रहे हो मेरी बात? तो इनिशियली सीड फंडिंग कौन देगा? गौर साहब ने पता लिमिटेड मनी है, हम कितने पैसे लगा लेंगे? हम टाइम लगा रहे हैं, स्पीकर से बात कर रहे हैं, सब कुछ कर रहे हैं, अपना टाइम दे रहे हैं, कुछ पैसे लगा भी देंगे मार्केटिंग के बाद, लेकिन हमारी एक देयर इज मैं एग्जांपल दे रहा हूँ, मैं हमें ऐसे कुछ करना नहीं है, वी डोंट वांट टू डू एनीथिंग, हम ऐसे कुछ भी नहीं कर रहे हैं। तो मैं सिर्फ ये बात कह रहा हूँ कि एग्जांपल दे रहा हूँ, वो सीड फंडिंग कहाँ से आएगी? तो कैश बर्न करना, न्यूज़पेपर ऐड देना, टीवी पे ऐड देना, समथिंग लाइक दिस। अब जैसे मैं बायजूस के बारे में देख रहा हूँ, वो अभी आज सुबह पढ़ रहा था कि जो आईपीएल है, आईपीएल वेंट टू आई बिलीव सम गेमिंग उसको मिला, राइट, और 201 करोड़ रुपए में बायजूस ने दिया हुआ था, और एक 177 करोड़ में का बिड दिया था, समथिंग लाइक दिस, अन अकेडमी, समथिंग लाइक दिस। तो मैं ये कह रहा हूँ, ये जो पैसे आ रहे हैं, ये तो बाद में आए, बायजूस के बाद में आए, शाहरुख खान बाद में आया, समथिंग लाइक दिस, ये पैसे बंद किए। तो इनिशियली पैसे कैसे पकड़े? मैं ये कह रहा हूँ, इनिशियली पैसे कैसे पकड़े?
सर सर सीड फंडिंग में भी ना सर दो स्टेजेस हैं। एक और उसको यदि फर्दर डिफरेंशिएट करेंगे ना, तो पहला स्टेज है बिल्कुल प्री सीड फंडिंग, और फिर आती सीड फंडिंग। तो प्री सीड इज समथिंग प्रोमोटर्स, जहाँ पे सिर्फ हमारे पास एक आइडिया है। जैसे मैं और अभी आप मान लीजिए कुछ डिस्कस करते हैं कि सर मेरे पास ये एक विजन है कि मैं ये चीज स्टार्ट करना चाहता हूँ, लाइक इट कुड बी द इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल। आने वाला टाइम इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल का है सर। इन इंडिया पेट्रोकेमिकल बिजनेस जो हम कहते हैं कि इस वक्त रिलायंस की कम आया, उसका वैल्यूएशन कम कारण आने का यही था। पेट्रोकेमिकल का बिजनेस इस वक्त एट द लॉसेस, जो हमने रिसेंटली अभी देखा भी कि दुबई में कच्चे तेल के दाम, क्रूड ऑयल के दाम $0 से नीचे चले गए, नेगेटिव हो गए इनफैक्ट। तो मेरे पास एक आइडिया है, अभी मेरे पास उस आइडिया पे थोड़ा सा पैसा है, उसे सिर्फ प्री सीड फंडिंग कहते हैं। जैसे मैंने सोच लिया और मैं उस पर काम करने लगा, लेकिन फिर मैं अप्रोच करता हूँ सर अपने जितने भी फ्रेंड्स, प्रोफेशनल कलीग्स, माइट इट कुड बी फैमिली मेंबर्स, इट कुड बी नेबर्स इवन, कि सर दिस इज माय विजन एंड दिस इज व्हिच आई एम एक्सपेक्टिंग इन कमिंग फ्यूचर, वुड यू बी इंटरेस्टेड? सो यहाँ पे आता है सर एक सीड फंडिंग, जो कि बहुत इनिशियल लेवल पे होगा। और यहाँ पे सर आता है डिजिटल मार्केटिंग का कॉन्सेप्ट, जो मैं पर्सनल लेवल पे देखता हूँ। आपने सर सुना होगा, अभी अभी आप फोन इंडस्ट्री देखी है पिछले कुछ टाइम में, 10-12 हज़ार में सर इतने अच्छे अच्छे फोन आने लगे, क्योंकि वो सारे के चाइना बेस्ड फोन, इंडियन बेस्ड फोन नहीं था सर 10-12 हज़ार में इतना अच्छा। अभी उनसे प्रोमोटर से पूछा गया कि हाउ दे यू आर कमिंग विद 10,000-12,000 फोन विद हैविंग दिस नंबर ऑफ फीचर्स, मतलब इतने फीचर्स आप 10-12 हज़ार में कैसे दे पा रहे हैं? तो उन्होंने साफ बताया उसका कारण है कि वी आर नॉट स्पेंडिंग अ सिंगल पेनी ऑन एडवर्टाइजमेंट, वी आर मेकिंग जस्ट डिजिटल मार्केटिंग। हम ऑनलाइन मार्केट इतना कर रहे हैं कि हम किसी को, मतलब वो जो प्रिंटिंग कॉस्ट, न्यूज़पेपर, मैगजीन्स कुछ कर ही नहीं रहे, वो प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस रिलीज करते हैं, सीधा बोलते हैं 10,000 रुपये में ये फीचर्स हैं। लोग 2 साल ट्राई करते हैं, उसी से आउटकम आ जाता है, एंड दे आर गिविंग सम गुड क्वालिटी, लोग उस पर ट्रस्ट करने लगते हैं, उस पर ट्रस्ट गेन हो गया। आप 6 महीने से साल में देखिए, आज से 3-4 साल पहले देखिए सर फोन इंडस्ट्री के क्या हाल थे, क्या स्मार्टफोन सभी के हाथ में होता था सर? आज तो इट्स लाइक समवन की हर एक इंसान के हाथ में है सर। अभी वो नोकिया वाला जमाना तो सब भूल ही गए हैं। तो उसका कारण क्या है इतने कम पैसे पे फ्लोट करने का? द रीजन इज दे आर मेकिंग डिजिटल मार्केटिंग। अभी हम ऑनलाइन मार्केटिंग करते हैं, मेल्स ड्रॉप करते हैं लोगों के पास, तो दे आर गोइंग फॉर स्मार्ट मार्केटिंग टेंशंस। और एक बार स्मार्ट मार्केटिंग होगी, जैसे ग्रोफर्स है सर, आपने ग्रोफर्स के कितने पैम्पलेट्स देखे हैं, आपने कितनी न्यूज़पेपर ऐड देखी है, लेकिन उसका मैसेज आएंगे सर आपके फोन पे। आप उसके आप एक बार उसका प्ले स्टोर पे विजिट कर लो आप, या फिर आप अपनी यहाँ पे वेबसाइट पे, एज इन प्रॉपर वेबसाइट पे विजिट करिए फोन गूगल क्रोम से खोल करके, आपके पास वो फिर बैक टू बैक पिक्चर वो करता रहेगा कि 9 रुपए किलो प्याज है या 12 रुपए किलो टमाटर है। उसका तरीका क्या है कि वो आप तक डिजिटली पहुंच रहा है, और डिजिटली रीच करने का तरीका सस्ता है सर, क्योंकि उसमें सिर्फ नेटवर्क लगता है। और डिजिटल मार्केटिंग इसीलिए ही आने वाले टाइम में बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ गई है। हम बहुत से सर सीएस की बात करता हूँ सर, मैं हम मेल्स खोलते हैं तो साइड में लिखा आता है फॉर्म कंपनी इन 3,000 रुपीज या 2,000 रुपीज, 2,000 रुपये में कंपनी रजिस्टर कराएं। सो व्हाट इज दिस? लोग कोई ना कोई ट्रस्ट कर रहे हैं सर, और लोग इसीलिए वो बढ़ता जा रहा है। अभी उसको छोटी सी ऐड देने में कुछ पैसा ज्यादा नहीं लगेगा, ऑल्दो इट विल रिक्वायर सम कॉस्ट, ऐसा नहीं वो फ्री में हो सकता है, बट इट विल बी वेरी मिनिमम। सो किसी भी स्टार्टअप को फंडिंग के लिए जाना है किसी भी सेगमेंट में, सो दैट स्टार्टअप और दैट प्लेटफॉर्म नीड्स टू रीच टू द पीपल। उसको लोगों तक पहुंचाना पड़ेगा कि आई एग्जिस्ट इनटू द मार्केट. This is what I personally believe, what I have seen from last 3 to 4 years or 5 years.
एक जो कंसेप्ट है क्रो फंडिंग का, क्रो फंडिंग जो होती है, विल इट आल्सो वर्क? वो भी काम होता है, क्रो फंडिंग भी होती है इसके अंदर? क्रो फंडिंग जैसे नॉर्मली आजकल तो मैंने देखा है कि इट इज क्रो फंडिंग इज मेनली मेंट फॉर कि जैसे भगवान ना करे वो बीमार है, अब उस पर इलाज कराना है, तो वहां पे क्या होता है कि देर कुछ लोगों ने स्टार्टअप जो ज्यादा शुरू कर दिया कि हम आपके लिए क्रो फंडिंग का इंतजाम करेंगे, और ऐसे केस में आपको पैसे वापस नहीं करने हैं, और पर्टिकुलर परसेंटेज डिपेंडिंग ऑन 7% टू 15% जो उनका रेशियो कट हो जाता है, तो वो लोगों के लिए पैसे इकट्ठे करते हैं, वो लोगों को एडवर्टाइज करते हैं वो इतना बीमार है, मतलब जो भी है, जो भी सी कहानी बनाते हैं व्हाटएवर इट इज, और वो क्रो फंडिंग के लिए उसे वही डिजिटली मार्केट करते हैं, तो पीपल यूज्ड टू, कोई 1000 रुपए डाल देगा, कोई 1500 डाल देगा, समथिंग लाइक दिस। तो क्या क्रो फंडिंग से भी हम पैसे इकट्ठे कर सकते हैं फॉर दिस सीड फंडिंग की तरह जो यूज कर सकते हैं? कैन यूज इट दैट वे आल्सो?
So see, क्रो फंडिंग इज समथिंग जो कि डिफरेंट होगा एक का वेंचर कैपिटलिस्ट के पर्सपेक्टिव से, क्योंकि एक यदि एक प्योर एक कॉर्पोरेट लेवल पे आप वेंचर कैपिटलिस्ट पे अप्रोच करते हो, या फिर एक वेंचर कैपिटलिस्ट आपके इन्वेस्टमेंट में इंटरेस्टेड होता है, जस्ट लाइक माइट बी सॉफ्ट बैंक इन केस ऑफ बाइजूस और इन केस ऑफ दिस ओला, तो वो तो इस तरीके से इंटरेस्टेड, जितना मेरे को आइडिया है, बिकॉज मैं ये नहीं कहूंगा कि मैं ही 100% उस चीज के लिए एक्यूरेट हूँ, बिकॉज आई हैव नॉट मेड दैट डील, बट व्हाट आई पर्सनली बिलीव इज कि वो इस तरीके से इंटरेस्टेड नहीं होंगे सर क्रो फंडिंग में, वो इंटरेस्टेड होंगे सर प्रॉपर डिलीजेंस के बाद. इनफैक्ट व्हाट आई हैव सीन ओवर द टाइम इज, मैं स्टार्टअप भूल रहा हूँ उसका नाम सर, वो अपना जो पोर्टफोलियो मैनेजर, जनरल पार्टनर प्राइवेट इक्विटी में या फंड मैनेजर, कोई भी जो पैसे को संभालता है, इन लेवल लैंग्वेज जो उस पैसे को संभालता है, उस कॉर्पस को संभालता है, वो 99% केसेस में उस स्टार्टअप के बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स में बैठता है सर, ऑन डेली बेसिस एज इन ईच एंड एवरी डिसीजन मेकिंग, ताकि ये ना हो कि सर पैसे आ गए तो आप उसको मिसयूज करेंगे. तो ये एक बहुत बड़ा चीज आती है, और आप ये हर एक डील में देखेंगे उनके बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स में नॉमिनी डायरेक्टर, जो हम पढ़ते भी हैं कंपनी एक्ट में, कि जो भी फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन पैसे लेंड कर रहा है, बहुत अच्छा खासा अमाउंट है, कंसोर्टियम फंडिंग या डेट सिंडिकेशन होता है, उसमें ये चीज आती है. तो इस केस में भी ये आता है कि वो इसी तरीके से डील करते हैं.
सर ये मिस्टर 10 है सर, 10 साहब अपना क्वेश्चन पूछिए आपने, यू हैव रेज्ड द हैंड मिस्टर 10.
Yes, thanks for giving me opportunity. This is Kashyap this side, and thanks.
सर ये 10 का मतलब क्या है, तो समझा दीजिए 10 का मतलब क्या है यार, मतलब आप क्या 10,000 करोड़ रुपए लेके आए हैं, सबको पैसे देंगे क्या?
नहीं sir, actually I was just joined through that live YouTube channel, and I went to Zoom, but that Zoom is not working.
Okay, anyway, बोलिए सर, बोलिए, पूछिए सर, क्वेश्चन पूछिए, कश्यप साहब क्वेश्चन पूछिए प्लीज.
And then register myself for this webinar.
Okay, you want to ask some questions sir to विशाल जी से कोई क्वेश्चन पूछना है आपने?
Hello, audible?
आपने कश्यप जी को क्वेश्चन पूछना है क्या विशाल जी से?
हाँ विशाल जी, पहले तो बात थैंक यू आप वो सेशन. दूसरी बात मुझे सिर्फ बोलना था वो सीड फंडिंग एंड फॉर दैट वन ऑफ द क्वेश्चन ऑन दैट सीड फंडिंग. सो व्हाट हैपेंस इफ यू हैव to prepare a PPT and we have to present towards all the board of directors or whoever are the GPs. So we have to present our presentation or our idea to them, and then if they are interested, then they will contact you. So rather than reaching to our friend or finding a partner, there is a proper channel to present your startup. And whenever you can present the startup, and if it is impressive for them and they can sort of profit on that startup, then probably they can invest in your startup and find the investors for you. And then they have their sales team as well in that, and then they will find the investors for you. Also, they will ask for the commitment, how much funding we require. So we have to tell them like we require that much of funding, and accordingly they will find the investor, and then they will ask for the profit percentage as well, minimum profit percentage. It is mainly depending between 8% to 10%.
सर ये कोई
So
साइट
things
है,
work like that.
सर ये कोई साइट है या कश्यप साहब ये कोई साइट है या कैसे है?
साइट नहीं है सर, जब भी सेमिनार So one of my friend has a startup idea. So she went to Dubai to give her presentation on that startup. So you can search like a Drive. It is like a Ola Uber only, but the name is Drive. So she has
Right,
given
okay.
presentation in Dubai for that. So whenever there is any startup idea, we can just Google it out and we can find where we can give our presentation and all. But we cannot directly approach to the particular person or GP. So
Sir
we have to
Pankaj,
give a bulk presentation, and whoever is interested, they can approach.
right, sir, right. सर पंकज बैजल जी भी है सर, गौर साहब पंकज बैजल इज बेसिकली बहुत अच्छे दोस्त है, मतलब मेरे बहुत अच्छे दोस्त हैं, और सर ये वैल्यूएशन में ही इज एक्सपर्ट.
Okay.
पंकज जी आर यू देयर?
Yeah, thank you, Nitin. Thank you for that little this thing. Vishal,
पंकज जी बिफोर यू आस्क सम क्वेश्चन, पहले कमिटमेंट दें कि अगले हफ्ते वैल्यूएशन पे आप एक टॉपिक दे रहे हैं.
I'm more than happy to take.
तो अगले हफ्ते का टाइम मुझे व्हाट्सएप कर दें और टॉपिक भेज दें.
I will separately WhatsApp you. I'm more than happy to share whatever knowledge. Now the time has come that we realize that we should share our knowledge more than well. We always gain, but now I think sharing has become part of our life. Vishal, thank you for a excellent presentation. I just wanted to ask, or if you have any idea about, you see, in India, the private equity market is now started maturing. You know, there was a time when 2000 people were very skeptical about private equity, but now we are into 2020, and 20 years that I have known this field, the market has started maturing. I wanted to ask you, over this time period, private equity is meant to be very draconian capital. So it's good if it's good when you have an exit, but when you don't have an exit, is the litigation rising over this time period? Because now there's been a good 20 years where India's seen a lot of private equity deals, but is there litigation rising when you don't, or the private equity does not find an exit for the money they have invested in the company? Any light on that side of uh, uh, uh,
Sure, sir. Sir, I think that the scope of private equity, I agree with that, that it has now been little bit maturing. But what I personally believe, and the databases through which I have gathered the data from SEBI and the other sides, the scope of the fund administration, the back-end job of the private equity has been increasing in India. And I will tell you the reason why. The reason is totally the game of exchange of the US currency as against to the Indian rupee, because all these KPOs have been formed into the SEZs. If you see the fund administration corporates working in India, they work into the especially into the SEZ, special economic zones. So they enjoy the taxation benefits firstly of the SEZs. Then secondly, they make the money by charging the fees into the US dollars. They do not charge the funds because they usually take care of the funds of the US based or the UK based. So they make the money by charging into the US dollars or mainly the pounds, the UK based funds for the. So they charge 50,000 US dollars or $1,000 or many dollars for their respective funds, and they engage only couple of employees or 4 or 5 employees for their fund. So through this, they enjoy the difference between the conversion of dollars as against to the Indian rupee. So because of this thing, they make a huge amount of money. So that's why the fund administration work of any segment, it's not only about the private equity, even the hedge funds on the private equity, both are coming back to back in India. And that's why we see a huge, infrastructural growth as well in Gurgaon, Pune and Bangalore. So if you see that mainly of all these KPOs are being, working in India. It could be the JP Morgan, it could be the, Capgemini, it could be Morgan Stanley, it could be the Citco Group, it could be BT House Group. There are a number of groups which are operating into this back-end jobs. They are, having a tie-up with the middle offices. One of my friends is working into the Macquarie as well. So what they are having is they are not working into the private equity. They are working into the, a sort of assurance-related work. So what they are doing is the middle office sends all the work to the back office, which we are having in India, and the middle office then take care or look after the client. So according to me, sir, what I have seen over the period, the uh, you know the scope of the fund administration is huge in coming years. But yes, when it comes to the private equity front end domain, so it is little bit maturing. I will agree with you, because there I've seen also there are some sort of litigations happen when it comes to the exit point. Likewise, I just read roughly a month ago that one of the dealers, I'm not much aware. I do not remember that investor name. It was the case of Ola, that the private equity player which has invested into the Ola is right now asking for more stake, acquiring more stake, and the Ola owner is not in a position, or he does not want to sell his stake to the if I'm not wrong, that the potential the investor was the SoftBank. I'm not sure about that, sir. But yes, that is for sure that one of the investors is pitching again and again to the Ola for selling more stake, but Ola's promoter is refusing to sell that stake to the private equity player. So this kind of negotiations or a sort of litigations happen because each and every player wants to make money. Now the promoter doesn't want to lose his stake, and the private equity player wants more because that player has already been seeing that it's going to make a huge amount or have some very good scope in the coming years. So this kind of a litigations happen, but it will totally depend upon the LPA, the limited partnership agreement. And yes, it results to litigation in some extent because see, it depends upon the dealing between the fund manager and the promoters. In some cases, the fund manager could be, little bit, I would say, greedy, and in some cases, the promoters could be little bit, nosy one, because I've seen some private equity players, they become, to some extent, they become nosy. They gonna make the interferences in each and every deal, in each and every decision of the investee or the target company as they have the stake. So they, make some put pressure directly or indirectly. So that is the time when it comes litigation period, and yes, it happens, and each and every deal will happens according to that circumstances. So this
पंकज
is
जी, मैं
what
जो
I
आपकी
feel
बात
my
समझ रहा
opinion.
हूँ, पंकज भैया जो मैं आपकी बात समझ रहा हूँ, अगर आप जो मुझे जितना आइडिया है फॉर एग्जिट पार्ट, व्हाट हैपेंस सर, अगर एग्जिट पार्ट के लिए मेरे पास इतने पैसे होते तो पहली बात मैं फंडिंग लेता नहीं। जैसे मैं टाटा डोकोमो की बात करूँ, टाटा डोकोमो जब इन्वेस्टमेंट हुआ था, डोकोमो वाज गिवन आफ्टर 5 इयर्स, ही वाज बीन गिवन एन एग्जिट प्राइस आल्सो, कि भैया आपको इतने प्राइस पे एग्जिट मिल जाएगा। तो इशू इज टाटा इज कैपेबल एनफ टू मेक द पेमेंट, वो पेमेंट कर सकता था। और आपको याद है उसके बीच में झगड़ा भी हुआ था, बाद में फेमा के इश्यूज भी आए थे और ऑल दैट सब भी आया था, पर टाटा इज फाइनेंशियली एबल एनफ कि वो एग्जिट रूट दे सकता है। अब द पीपल लाइक यू, मी और साहब, अब हम मान लो मुझसे कोई एग्जिट रूट मांगेगा, मेरी कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट करेगा, बोलेगा भाई ऐसा कर कि 3 साल बाद मुझे या 5 साल बाद इतने पैसे दे दियो, तो भाई इतने पैसे मेरे पास होते, इतनी गारंटी दे रहा होता तो मैं एग्जिट रूट कैसे देता? समझे ना?
Right, Nitin. And just to add to that, what happens is that the private equity people need an exit. They've put in $100, they have to exit. So the issue of litigation comes in when the 100 rupees that they've put in the money, after 5 years or 7 years, they don't find an exit. Every business does not successfully become a like Byju's or Paytm. Some businesses will also fail.
Correct.
And that time, the litigation, the question of litigation comes, because out of any fund, if they invest in 14 funds or 14 companies, 10 will be fine, but 4 will also be, a potential, because where the exit has not happened. So that, and I think Vishal is addressing.
Pankaj bhaiya, I just remember a particular company. Initially we are the auditors, हमने काफी काम किया उनका, और फिर एंड में it went to big four. चलो उसकी तो कोई दिक्कत नहीं, but it's fine, whatever has happened. अब वो, मैं क्लाइंट का नाम नहीं ले रहा, उस क्लाइंट ने क्या किया, कैश रिच कंपनी, they have taken 100 crores from different investor like GE, all that stuff. अब उनसे लेके उन भाई साहब ने क्या किया, सारे पैसे डाल दिए म्यूचुअल फंड में। अब म्यूचुअल फंड में he made a lot of money actually, क्योंकि इससे कैश रिच कंपनी, मतलब 700 800 800 करोड़ रुपए तो पड़ा रहता है। पहली बात तो कि 100 करोड़ रुपए लिए क्यों, उसने दिए क्यों, ये बात भी समझ में नहीं आई मुझे। चलो एनी हाउ व्हाट हैपेंड, उसने ही हैज मेड लॉट ऑफ मनी फ्रॉम दैट, अपना काम करते रहे, और बाद में जब 4-5 साल बाद एग्जिट की बात हुआ, 100 करोड़ के, मुझे लगता है शायद 105 करोड़ रुपए ही दिए होंगे शायद। तो आप सोचो कमाए कितने पैसे उन्होंने, ही इज अ बिग हिमसेल्फ इज अ बिग जायंट। तो मुझे सही में नहीं आया कि ऐसा क्यों किया दोनों। अब वहां पे पता लगता था जब हम इन बिटवीन क्योंकि कुछ पीरियड हम 3-4 साल उनके ऑडिटर भी रहे उन कंपनीज के, तो वहां पे बकायदा वो ऑडिटर मीटिंग हो रही है, सब कुछ हो रहा है, वो चार्ट बना रहे हैं, समथिंग लाइक दिस। तो मुझे लगा वो, मुझे ये इतना सही में नहीं आया कि फंड लिया क्यों और दिया क्यों।
Yeah, interesting. Thanks, Vishal. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Thanks, Nitin.
पंकज भैया मुझे व्हाट्सएप करोगे भी आप, ठीक
I
है?
am going to. I'll coordinate with you.
जी भैया, जी भैया, जी भैया। और सब एनीथिंग वी वांट टू आस्क?
नहीं पंकज जी से एक और कमिटमेंट है कि वैल्यूएशन ऐसे पढ़ाएंगे कि जैसे हम लेमैन को पढ़ा रहे हैं, चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट को नहीं
सर,
पढ़ा
सच में मैं आई नो पंकज जी वेरी वेल, टू बी री फ्रैंक, और मैं आपको झूठ नहीं बोलता हूँ, मैंने वैल्यूएशन में मेरे को 2 बंदे हमेशा ध्यान देते हैं, मैं, और ये नहीं कि पंकज जी सामने बैठे हैं, वन इज पंकज, अदर इज राजीव सिंह। मुझे इन दोनों से बेटर कोई वैल्यूएशन में लगता नहीं हो, तो वे ही एक्सप्लेन द थिंग्स, जिस तरीके से पंकज भैया भी समझाते चीजें करते हैं, ये तो मैं इनके पीछे पड़ा रहता हूँ। सी, राजीव सिंह हैज गॉट अ बिग एक्सपोजर, इसमें कहने वाली बात नहीं है। पंकज भैया इज डूइंग वेरी वेल, मैं सर अच्छा नहीं, बहुत अच्छा कर रहे हैं, पर फर्क क्या है कि इनको पुश करना पड़ता है, जैसे आप ना कमरे से बाहर निकालते हो कि भाई बाहर निकल, बाहर निकल, बाहर निकल। तो आज अच्छा वो पकड़ में आ गया, तो गॉड साहब ने ही बोल दिया, तो आप
नहीं,
चिंता ना करें आप।
Nitin, that's my commitment. I will. Yeah.
जी, थैंक यू।
I'll coordinate. Thanks.
Anything more, sir? Anybody want to ask some question to Vishal, और पंकज इज ऑलरेडी बीन देयर, और अभी कश्यप जी भी हैं, तो किसी ने कुछ क्वेश्चन हो, गौर साहब से कोई क्वेश्चन पूछना हो ऑन दिस सब्जेक्ट, तो मैं उसे अनम्यूट कर दूंगा सर, प्लीज उनसे क्वेश्चन पूछ ले, या कोई क्वेश्चन Q&A में डाल दीजिए अगर कोई है तो। Else we will call it a day. अच्छा, बिफोर कॉलिंग अ डे, और मैं गौर साहब आपको बोलूं कि प्लीज वोट ऑफ थैंक्स देते हैं सर। कल का मैं बता दूं, कल एक थोड़ा सा चेंज किया है। पहले नितेश गुप्ता इज गोइंग टू स्पीक ऑन MSME नाउ। नितेश का जो प्रोग्राम है, इट हैज बीन शिफ्टेड टू सैटरडे, तो ही इज गोइंग टू स्पीक ऑन MSME एंड डिफरेंट फंडिंग जो गवर्नमेंट कर रही है। कल जो टॉपिक हमने चेंज किया है, इट हैज बीन गिवन टू पंकज सरूगी। पंकज सरूगी इज एवरीबॉडी नोज, इज अ वेरी वंडरफुल स्पीकर ऑन डायरेक्ट टैक्स, और ही इज गोइंग टू स्पीक ऑन सर चेंजेस इन ITR, और कुछ साइलेंट चेंजेस हो गए हैं इन ITR फॉर्म्स, और टेक माय वर्ड्स, और वो जो चेंजेस हुए हैं उससे बहुत बड़ा इंपैक्ट आएगा। और आप प्रॉब्लम कहाँ पे है कि सिंस इट्स नॉट लाइक दैट कि मैनुअल फाइल नहीं करनी छोड़ दिया तो कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, अगर आप वो भरोगे नहीं, और वो बेसिकली भरना बहुत जरूरी है, आप आगे भरोगे नहीं तो वो रिटर्न जाएगी नहीं, राइट, जाएगी नहीं, तो वो साइलेंट, उससे क्या है। और कई इश्यूज तो ऐसे हैं जो डिमांड नहीं करता है रूल्स, या फिर आपके एक्ट नहीं मांगता, उसके बावजूद आपकी चीजें मांग रहा है वो, तो उसके बारे में डिस्कस करेंगे। इट्स अ बिग मैटर, 2 बंदों ने पार्ट बस यस। तो आई बिलीव दिस इज द सब्जेक्ट सर। नाउ लेट अस क्लोज इट डे क्लोज करें सर, कॉल इट अ डे।
विशाल जी ने आज जिस तरह से इस टॉपिक को डील किया है, आज मैं बिना चश्मे के था लेकिन पूरा पढ़ रहा था, और बहुत अच्छा लगा मुझे कि मतलब ही हैज टच्ड ईच एंड एवरी एस्पेक्ट। और जो उन्होंने इनकी जो ग्राफिक्स थी, मुझे ग्राफिक्स बहुत पसंद है। इकोनोमेट्रिक मॉडल्स मैंने किए हुए हैं, हालांकि उस जमाने में किए थे जब सिस्टम नहीं होते थे, हाथ से करने पड़ते थे। तो आई फाइंड इट वेरी वेरी गुड, एंड everybody would have understood that this is a field where when if somebody wants to venture into, it's a very very good field for a professional. So that is why I asked Vishal ji ki course mein who can do this course. Is it a chartered accountant who can, or CFA can do it, or any graduate? So apart from doing it for chartered accountant, it's a good business opportunity. Apart from that, if somebody else is doing, there's a good opening in this field. And the way Vishalji has dealt this subject, I mean, बिल्कुल नॉर्मल मैनर में, इतनी बड़ी बात, क्योंकि बात बहुत बड़ी है। नॉर्मली क्लाइंट्स, हम सबके क्लाइंट्स ऐसे नहीं है, एक आध सबके हो सकते हैं इन few cases, 3 cases, but the way he has dealt with the subject, everybody has been able to understand that this is the thing, and that is why I asked one question for pitching. एंड कश्यप जी भी इसमें इंटरवीन करके बहुत अच्छा हुआ कि इंटरेक्शन अच्छा हो गया। तो आई वांट टू थैंक विशाल जी फॉर दिस वंडरफुल प्रेजेंटेशन एंड इंटरेक्शन, एंड आई थिंक आवर पार्टिसिपेंट मस्ट बी हैप्पी, एंड दे मस्ट understood this thing कि if they undertake this subject, they will be able to do quite better things in their profession. The value addition both in terms of subject matter and the money wise. Because yesterday I was discussing with my son regarding hedge fund. He's going to for some interview today. So that is why I was going through sentence by sentence, and I find it very good. So I want to thank Vishal Gupta ji very, very much for this valuable suggestion, interaction, and deliberation. I thank you. Thanks, Nitin.
Thank you, Vishal bhaiya. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Pankaj ji. Thank you, Vishal sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
और पंकज जी से तो
Thank you
Thanks
all.
a lot, sir. Thanks a lot for giving me an opportunity, sir.
Thank you, bhai. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you all.
Thank you.